Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Mariska Kesteloo. Mariska is president and founder of the World of Mice, which is connecting brands and influencers. She also had to face grief. She's an amazing and inspiring story. Enjoy my conversation with Mariska. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meaning podcast. Today, I'm extremely happy to speak with an old friend from Europe. She has a tremendous story, a very inspiring story, very unusual, and a whole story I think will benefit many of us, if not all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, the founder and president of the World of Mice, Mariska Kesteloo. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm better. That's actually the best subscription I should give. Yeah, better. So thank you so much for being a host of, or guest of your podcast.
Thank you, Mariska. It's your story. I was going to say, I love your story. I don't love your story, but I think your story is extremely important and extremely inspiring. It's about grit. It's about persistence. It's about grief. I'm going to get into that for sure. But first thing first, who is Mariska? What's your story? How did you get into the world of mice?
Well, let me start with first things first. How did I get in the industry, and afterwards, how did I start my company? I'm now in the meetings and events industry for almost 10 years. I started my career in tourism industry, studied tourism, worked in tourism, worked in many different fields in the tourism industry. And I literally fell in love with the Belgian man. I moved to Belgium. That's also where we met and how we met, actually, Erik. And then also I slowly changed the industry from the tourism into the meetings and events industry. So I studied a master in business event management in Ghent in Belgium. And then I became a freelancer, got involved in the industry, got involved into MPI, the Meetings Professionals International, which I'm still until today. I think it's almost 10 years ago that I got involved in this international association. Still grateful for the people that I've met and came along my way, are still very good friends. It's a very great community. And then I started as a freelancer first, working for different companies, exploring my journey. What do I like? What I don't like? What I would like to do. And in 2016, I was working as an event manager for an accelerator program. So I was doing events for startups and scale-ups, which I really love. I'm still passionate about the huge startup and scale-up community. And then I thought, I would also love to have my real company, not being a freelancer, but a real company. And I got inspired by the many travel influencers who were out there sharing the story about traveling, how fantastic it was, and how many reaction and impact they had. And I thought, this is interesting. And where are the influencers from our industry talking about journeys and talking about destination? How do they make a decision to come to, for example, Web Summit? How do they make the decision to go to Dublin and afterwards to Lisbon? Very interesting. No story found, no influencer found. So I thought, this is really interesting. We are bigger than the travel industry and no one is sharing their journey, their case studies. So I thought, this is a hole in the market. So I thought, let's jump on it. It was a very difficult journey, and still it is, to be honest, after even it's now 5 years' time, because the reason why I start is, first of all, because I want more recognition and awareness for our industry, for the meetings and events industry, because we're still underrated, underestimated, undervalued, underrespected, I would say. So I think our stories are deserved to share. And that's not only from an event professional perspective, so why have you chosen for a certain venue or for a certain destination, but also the economical value and the impact and the people that you've met and the relationship that comes along with, like we are here now today, Erik. I mean, perhaps it's 10 years ago that we've met, and now you see that we're still connected and related, and that's for many meetings and events. And this is what I do. So I link industry experts with suppliers, of the meetings and events industry. That's what I do.
That's awesome. And you became an influencer yourself.
Yes. That was, always people saw me as an influencer. I don't see that. But I think, first of all, I have, to be honest, a hate-love relationship with the word influencer, because people see then the YouTubers, the gamers, the beauty influencers, the fashion influencers. First of all, everyone, if you are active online or not, is an influencer. We're all influenced by people and we influence other people. And I think so the word influencer is chosen very wrong. So therefore I prefer to say the word industry expert, because that covers your knowledge, your experience within the industry. So I prefer to say that I'm an industry expert than to say that I'm an influencer.
Understood. When you do this analysis of the market and you realize that there's no influencer, no expert in the meetings and event industry, and brands are looking for it, are they looking for it? Or do you think, you know what, that's something that they could be using? So basically, is there a need that you try to fulfill, or are you creating a market?
Well, from both ways. I think, first of all, there are people who don't know that they have that need. So I'm creating the need because I think it's important that we share our story and that we also use new ways to share our story, if it's online or offline. We don't only use the social media channels, but we also use, for example, an opportunity at IMEX or IBTM where we share our experiences in a panel discussion, or we share an article in an industry magazine. So I think there is a need to spread our story in a different way, and also say more according to the 21st century, because we also need to be aware that there's a younger generation entering our market who is doing business in a different way and also doing their research to search for a venue, destination or supplier in a different way. So we need to be out there. And sometimes I think that our industry is a bit old-fashioned and needs to change. So I'm at that point, I can say that I'm a visionary and I'm an early adapter. So therefore, I'm quite persistent, and I know there is that need, but I don't think the clients sometimes know that they have that need.
Right. So when you speak to your client, whether it's a destination or hotel or venue, how do you explain to them that the next generations are actually looking in a different way that they used to be, and that their marketing should be different?
Yes. Well, a lot of people are aware. Some people also acknowledge that they know it, but to do something about it, that's step number 2. Some people that I speak with are very well aware, but then of course it also has to do with budget, it has to do with time, has to do with staff, has to do with management. It's not always that the people that I speak with are also the decision makers within the company. So there are a lot of people who are aware of these challenges, but yeah, first things first. And of course, after a pandemic, then of course there are different priorities and different budgets and other challenges like lack of staff or lack of time comes along. But yeah, people do acknowledge that they have an issue. Yes.
And is it that just, I always say, if I understand something that anybody can understand, and if you explain to me a long time, then I will understand. But the main change, is it like, for instance, new generation are actually looking at others' opinion more than in the past, relying on peers' opinion more than in the past? What is the change there that justify actually to look for influencers?
Well, mainly the last thing, we do business because we trust each other and we have those personal relationships. So, for example, if someone for our industry would share a case study, how they have done, say, the research up front to choose for a venue destination, how the collaboration went with the convention bureau or with the suppliers. So we still do business because we trust each other. And that's the main point, because also the lead time is quite long. So it's very important that people share the stories. It's not only about the younger generation, but also the younger generation, of course, wants to also that transparency in our process. And I think that transparency is missing, and because a lot of destinations or suppliers still post pictures of beautiful hotel rooms or a meeting room, but with no people in it, and still in the standard option. But what do you do more? If I have a request, what can you do? And who would be my contact person? And how does the process go? And how does the decision-making process go? And you ask a prepayment, or all those elements are so important to share. And this is not being shared. I think it's about human relationship. It's about transparency. It's mainly also about trust. So very important to say is that we create long-term relationships. So we don't do a campaign for a week or a month. No, preferably for 6 months or longer, even up to a year. Because, like I said, the lead time is very long. And before people see or pick up the news, if it's online or offline, then the campaign is already up and running. So you could also say that influencers or industry experts are a paid ambassador, an extra face, an extra pair of eyes. And it's easier sometimes to reach out to a person who is standing outside of the company, and that they receive, for example, I see you've done an event in Copenhagen or in Helsinki. Then I would be much more trustworthy to reach out to me than to reach out directly to the sales manager of the hotel, because I have a different point of view. So I think that's really important that people see. I say that also change the mindset, that people see the industry experts really as experts and not just as a paid content creator who is posting just nice pictures and posts, but it's from a knowledge and experience point of view.
Got it. How do you define an influencer or industry expert, Mariska? Is it the number of people that have as a follower on social media? Is it they publishing article? Is it what is the criteria for you to say, okay, these are expert and I can connect them with the brands who are my client?
Well, that's an excellent question, because it all depends on the strategy of the client. What kind of person are they looking for? For example, are they looking for an expert in automotive industry who has done events in Germany? Are they looking for an incentive specialist from the Netherlands? Are they looking for an association expert based in Belgium? And then if we have defined, I would say, the ideal profile, the buyer persona, then we can find the right influencer. And it's not about the number of followers. It's first of all about the experience, because how more experience a person has, how longer that person has worked in the industry, how more followers and how bigger the network is, despite perhaps they're not all connected online. So I think it's all about quality and not about quantity, because we still, of course, have people who are not so active on social media, but it doesn't mean that person, that industry expert, perhaps has a very great reach, but perhaps more active in writing or providing content for industry magazines. But it all depends on the audience, if that audience is more online or offline. What is the client? What do they want to get out of the campaign? It's about visibility. It's about awareness. Are they promoting a new destination, reaching out to a new audience? And for example, it's a new flight connection, for example, from Belgium to Helsinki or to Germany, that they need to enter a new market. So it all depends on the strategy of the client, but we search then for the right person, and they usually are already on our radar, but we screen them. And I think the most important selection criteria that we have is we send out a briefing as soon as we have the strategy of the client. Then we send out a briefing to our community, to a pre-selected group, which we think that might be a potential fit.
Yeah.
And then we ask them to write a strategic proposal. And in that way, that's the biggest difference between B2C and B2B influencer marketing. The B2C influencers, the beauty and fashion, just ask, okay, promote this and you will get you get 10%. Now we ask their input, their creativity up front, and then the client can choose to say, but Mariska has a really nice strategic proposal. She came up with ideas we never thought of, or this is something totally in line with our values. She has, the right personality, the right character, also someone that we can relate and associate with. And then we're going to work together. So the influencer is chosen based on her personality, based on, of course, working experience, but also Number 3 is based on the strategic proposal that they send to the client. And I think this is the most important, because then we know what the influencers want to, what is their focus.
Yeah.
And then the client says, okay, yes, we would love to work with you. And then we're going to set up the agreement. I think it's a much more strategic work than people think. People think it's just a post and just put hashtag advertising and that's it. Now it's a very thorough manual process that goes beyond, and a very strategic long-term decision internally to find, first of all, to find the right person, and also to work along with the client and the influencer and our team to make that this campaign will be a success.
Awesome. Well, if you're looking for somebody to support Porsche or Cohiba Cigar or Dom Perignon, please reach out to me. I might be able to help. But in all seriousness...
You're on my radar.
Thank you.
You're part of the community. Welcome.
Right? Yeah. In all seriousness, you got this expertise coming from organizing events for an incubator. How does a brand will measure the impact that his influencer has? Or is it like more brand awareness, or is it more specific? What are the different KPIs there?
Well, that also depends, because we set the KPIs up front before we start with the campaign. For example, is there increase of followers, of LinkedIn followers? For example, if they have a LinkedIn page, is there, for example, 10% or 20% increase of number of followers? Or they want, for example, or also on output. For example, with Catalonia, we focused on video content because it was not much video content. With a hotel, we focused on, there was no content actually for event professionals. So what has the hotel to offer to make it also really visible, because video is the future. Yeah. So we also not only valuable on KPIs input, but also on the output, because I think the majority of the clients need content from an event professional point of view, from how is a destination perceived as an event professional. A lot of things that we don't know, or talking about hidden gems, or the support that they can get from the convention bureau, or accessibility. So I think that's really important, that they have the content from someone external and experience it, and seeing is believing. Yeah.
Seeing is believing. They also have the opportunity to say, to filter that before it's public, or from the moment they decide who they work with, then they have to accept whatever's going to be produced.
Well, for example, all the videos and blog posts are checked by the client. Of course, we do that also on purpose, just because check, double check, for example, names, or if there's you're working with across borders, so you also have cultural differences. English is not, for a lot of people, not our mother tongue, despite that we work also with translators. So, for example, a tweet, or for example, if they are on a site inspection or on the destination, then if they do a story on Instagram or a tweet, that is not checked, but all the other content is uploaded upfront, and the client has their final say on blog posts, on videos, everything.
Amazing.
But they have, of course, they can keep their own style. Let me be clear, but I think that's very important to say that because there's also a lot of clients are afraid, but they're going to say something which is not aligned with our values. I said, if that influencer would say something, anything related with, for example, politics, which is sensitive, they not only harm your reputation, but mainly their own reputation, and then they can't work with any client anymore. So they are industry experts, and they would do everything to keep that professional relationship between us and the client.
Very interesting. I think you developed an amazing business model there. So congratulations.
Yes, well, it's been 5 years. It's a bumpy road. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now also I think personal relationship, also due to Corona, due to pandemic, has been more valued than ever before. So I really hope that people will also think more strategically and invest to work with industry experts from 2023. So I'm looking forward to a very positive year.
Awesome. That's the best I wish for you and again, I think you are positioned extremely well positioned, because I don't know of anybody else doing that, but you know what you're talking about, and you're basically fulfilling a need. So congrats on that. So
Thank you.
you start your own business. It's a bumpy road. There is the, I always remember the sentence from the quote from Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan until they got punched in the face. And life happens. And unfortunately, you suddenly faced with the most horrible thing that you were not even expecting. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, like you said, life is a very bumpy road. In January 2022, we got the news, my husband and I, that he was diagnosed with a severe brain tumor. That was just before the pandemic hit us. So he had his surgery just, I would say, a few days before the lockdown. We didn't know that it was going.
In 2020, right?
Yeah, it was in 2020.
Yeah.
So then, you're at home, your future, your relationship, your company, everything is suddenly a question mark, which was a very difficult situation for both of us. At the time, I started to write my emotions. I started to write a diary because I couldn't share with anyone because we didn't know what the virus would do, how my husband would evolve from this process. So at the end of 2020, we got the news that the tumor was gone after 9 months of treatment. So we were very happy. So we thought, okay, 2021 is going to be our year. We're going to be back on the road. My husband was desperate to go to work again. So he even started going back to work. Well, of course, online in February for a few days a week. And then March came, and then my father-in-law passed away. And then I've noticed already that my husband was not feeling so well. So I thought, okay, it's because of the emotions. He lost his father. But then in April, I noticed something is really wrong, and I assumed that the tumor was back, which was also confirmed in the hospital in the beginning of May. Then on the 22nd of May, I got a phone call from my father that my mother passed away very suddenly. This was totally unexpected. Well, she had MS, but this was another, say, punch in the face, which of course, was not expected. And with the news that we just heard before, standing at the funeral of my mom, I knew that in a few weeks I will be again having a funeral, but then for my husband. And then on the 7th of July, I got a phone call from France, a dear industry friend, perhaps you know her as well. Miek Egberts passed away in a car accident.
Yep.
At the age of 55. She was not only my client, she was a dear friend. She was my source of inspiration. So I was devastated because it was a week before my husband passed away, and I was out of the world. Because I thought, why is this happening to me? I'm losing now 3 people, and number 4 is coming. And on the 15th of July, I lost my husband at the age of 49 due to his brain tumor. So I was broken. And I think on all levels, there's nothing that you can prepare for this. And there were a few things that I decided. One of the things I decided to move out the house where I lived. It was near the coast. So I decided to move back in with my father. He was a widow, I was a widow, and we supported. And that was actually one of my life savings, because I was not capable of taking care of myself, despite, I can say, I'm quite, not saying that I'm a strong woman, but you are, the impact of a grieving process. And I can say that to anyone, no one has prepared me for that. That it has impact on, for example, my brain. I couldn't remember, and it still has impact until today. Concentration is difficult to concentrate. I lost my taste. I lost my appetite. I lost my joy in life. I lost I couldn't sleep anymore. I was constantly reflecting on what happened, and of course also financially, because you're not losing only your husband, you're losing also your income. So there were so many factors, and also the administration that you need to deal with and the follow-up. And my husband was Belgium. I was living in the Netherlands. So all that administration comes along. Yeah. So it was such a huge impact that no one, prepared me for that. But then my best friend said, I think you need to go in therapy. I said, yes, I think so as well. So we went to a grieving therapist. To be honest, I never heard and I never knew that it existed. And those elements of moving back in with my father, having a routine at 12:30, lunch, 6 p.m., dinner time, having a grieving therapist, and having close friends who pulled me through this process, got me back, they're not saying back on track, because you have a new life. You don't have a partner, you don't have a mother. It's completely, you have a new life. And so you need to, everything.
You have a new life that you didn't choose.
Yes. And it comes along your path and you have to deal with it. There is no choice. You can only choose how you deal with it, but you cannot change your path. So, and one of the things that I'm very grateful for good friends, and my best friend called me in November and said, you're always going to IBTM in Barcelona. And normally I was taking my husband with me. He was taking holidays. I was doing the work. He was on holidays for the entire week. And she said, are you going to Barcelona this year? And I said, no, I'm not going. I'm not prepared yet. I'm not ready for this. 2 weeks later, she called me again. She said, I booked a ticket. We are going to Barcelona for the weekend together, and you're staying for the fair. I did. And it really changed. It really changed me, because to have again meeting the people and going back through hugging the people from the industry, and then you realize how close the community is and the support and the respect that I got. It really said, okay, I also missed traveling. I also missed being among people, because I was also very isolated during the pandemic. And this opened my eyes. And then I said, okay, living with my father is nice, but as an independent woman, I also need my freedom and my space. So I decided very spontaneously to buy a camper and to work and travel as a digital nomad.
Yeah.
This, I've never drove in a camper first. And the first shop that I entered with my father, I bought the first camper that I saw without driving it. I signed the contract. And this is then typically the adventurous me. And I came out of the store and my father said, hey, congratulations, you just bought a camper. I said, well, Dad, first of all, I spent every penny that I had, all my savings, everything was in that thing. And because I also promised my husband that I would travel again, that I would go on the road. He said, continue traveling, because he said, I regret that I didn't travel more with you. So, and also having a camper was also on our bucket list together. So it was for me so emotional to take that decision alone, to accomplish a dream that you put on your bucket list together, and then suddenly achieving that alone. So, and then I started planning and checking where I will go. And then I put Poland as my first destination on the map already in January, because I have a very close friend living in Poznan and he couldn't be at the farewell of my husband. So I said, okay, we haven't seen each other for quite a while. I'll go there. And my freelancer, one of my team members, is based in Poland. And I said, you've been my great support. You have been taking care of my company, because I was not capable of working. I was not capable of doing a conference call or replying on mails. He saved my company. So I said, okay, I will come to you. And then the war in the Ukraine came. So that was also not in my schedule. Plan. And I thought, okay. But I was persistent and I said, okay, there's no war in Poland. There is a war in Ukraine. So then now I'm back at home again with my father. So I spent 3 months in Poland traveling around, and it's been, in one word, a life-changing experience. Not only for discovering Poland as, first of all, as a travel destination. I've been there before, but as a MICE destination, but also for me on a personal level. It gave me so much strength to go on the road again, to but also it was a huge confrontation, of course, to accomplish a dream. And if you had a very great day of site inspection, if, for example, in Gdansk, and then you go to the camping and you enter the camper alone and you see a picture on the wall of you and your husband, then I don't need to say how, in what kind of state you are. So it's been with lots of ups and downs, but I confronted myself, and I think that's a lot of people listening to this who also go through a grieving process or lost someone. I know that so many people don't want to talk or avoid the confrontation, but it will come as a boomerang effect anyway. And it's not that people say, oh, you look so happy, and during my journey. And I was very pissed off at one moment that people saw only, seeing that enthusiastic lady, healthy, smiling. And then I also posted 2 videos where I shared the other side of my story, one on the day that my mother died and the other on the birthday of my husband, saying, of course, I'm enjoying my trip and I'm very happy that I'm able to enjoy my life again, because I lost joy in life. But I also have my difficult moments, and I had many emotional breakdowns. I had many difficult moments. I even cried with people that I even know their names. But it's been, I can recommend to everyone to go out of your comfort zone and to travel and to meet people, because I've also met a lot of people who had more challenges to deal with than I did. And it also relates and reflects on things. Okay, sometimes you think that you have a lot of difficulties or challenges, or if I may say it in a Dutch direct way, shit on your path. We say in Dutch, every house has its cross. Yes, every person also has its cross. So don't judge too quick, because there are a lot of people also have a lot of challenges to deal with. And that really opened my eyes. I had many beautiful conversations with people. I created new adventures. I have now more energy, still recovering. But I look back on a life-changing experience, and I fell in love with my digital nomad life. So I will be back on the road very soon.
I'm speechless. It's the whole journey that you just described in few minutes, and really the grit, the persistence that you have remind me of when I was a kid. A neighbor who was a mentor had this poster from the painter Braque, and it says in French was l'espoir est une suite d'actes désespérés qui permet de garder l'espoir. And so it was like the hope is actually a series of desperate acts that actually keep hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the whole thing that you've done, I mean, I cannot relate to anybody else that had to face so many personal issues. Your father-in-law, your mother, your husband, your friend Mika, in such a short period of time, and still standing up and putting one step after the other. Congrats. I mean, I admire the courage you've had. And you also wrote a book in the meantime.
Yes, I'm very happy. Yeah, it was a book about the year of 2020 where I wrote about the journey. Because a lot of people, if you are diagnosed with a brain tumor, a lot of people compare it with a regular cancer. And with all the respect, but it's not the same. If you have a brain tumor, your partner, as soon as he's diagnosed, your partner has changed. Your partner is not your partner anymore, because there's something growing in their brain that will change their way of thinking, that will change their way of life. Of course, I've noticed things before that something was wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong, because he was not sick. He didn't have any headache. He was not throwing up. There were all vague symptoms. And of course, now, as soon as he got the diagnosis, I said, okay, now I know. So I started to write a book about my emotions, because first of all, I was at home with a patient. I was suddenly a caregiver from an international traveling entrepreneur. Also lost my company. So I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm being a caregiver and of course trying to to do the work that I can do. So I started to write about my emotions because I also wanted to be surrounded with other people. But yeah, we didn't know if he was also a vulnerable patient for the virus or not. So therefore, we also didn't want to have anyone in our house. So it was a very lonely period. And therefore, I started to write day by day, how did I deal with the situation? And because there are many people like me who are, first of all, a caregiver or are dealing also with similar, say, patients, if there's husbands or partners or fathers or even neighbors or friends. So I started to write, how did I feel along this entire process? And that got published in 2021. That was ready. But then, of course, we got the news that my husband was sick again. So I'm now going to publish a book where the news is the opposite, but I still use the book to go on stage and to share the story about how impactful this entire process is, and also to support other ones. So we're now creating, together with other people, a professional association where if you want to have information which is non-medical, so for example, how do you tell the news towards your children, your partner, your parents, or if you want to have information about alternative treatments, or if you are able to drive again a car, or you want to use cannabis oil, which is also, of course, CBD oil, which is a very hot topic again. So all these questions that people have are not, you can find it everywhere on the internet, but not under one professional organization, one objective. So that is something that I'm working on, to get that information out there under an official umbrella, and that is official recognized and certified in the Netherlands, because I have missed that. And a lot of people are still missing that, and the number of patients of brain tumors is rapidly growing. So it's very important that other people get the support that I've missed. And every day.
To your point, facing grief. My good friend Sherry Walling was also doing a lot of work about grief. She also was a guest previously in the podcast, worth listening to. The whole approach of facing reality. In our world today, the political correctness that always showing on Facebook with a big smile, or your dogs playing with the cats. I mean, this is not reality. And when you're faced with reality, what you're doing, it's actually, to me, facing the trauma and putting one step after the other. That's how you continue in life. And by the way, the quote from Braque is, "La vie est une suite d'actes désespérés qui permettent de garder l'espoir." So life is a series of desperate acts that keep hope alive, if you want. And that's what you're doing. Today, this camper thing, this journey, this representing Poland, this digital nomad. Again, Mariska, you're a true inspiration. I'd like to finish this conversation today. Tell us a little bit more about digital nomad, what you like, what did this like, because, and we were discussing just before starting this interview, everybody sees just the front page.
Yes.
The smiling Mariska in a camper traveling.
Yeah, here I am.
I want your life. It's great. But what is it exactly? What you like about it, but also what people should know about the reality of that life?
Yeah, well, that's very difficult for me, because when people see that happy lady smiling in front of the camper, say, "Oh, I'm so jealous about your life," and people that you don't know, then it's very difficult to say, okay, yes, I understand, but you also need to take the shit of the past 2 years. But I'm to people that just saying that I'm not going to into discussion. Well, I think a couple of things that you need to know if people are considering, because we get also a lot of questions about, of course, being a digital nomad, and because a lot of people think it's a dream life. Yes, it's a dream life, but there are a lot of consequences. First of all, you need to have an adventurous mindset, and everything costs more time than you think. For example, you can't put your laundry into a laundry machine. For example, I did in Poland. It sounds very luxury. I ordered a taxi to go to a laundry service, waited there for an hour, checked my mails, and got the laundry back and brought it back to my camper. There are also, of course, sometimes laundry service at the camping site. So these are one of those practical things that requires more time. Of course, If you want to go to the shower, you need to go outside. If you want to go to the toilet, you need to go outside. Also, if you're going on to a camping, there's not always a shop on a walking distance, because you can't drive with your camper then to the shop, because that's also something people need to realize. Driving with the camper is fantastic, but as soon as you're on the camping site, you start to unpack. So you can't just say, okay, I need to go something by now, I'm going to drive, because there's your cup of coffee on the table that will move as soon as you drive, or your clothes or your laptop or everything that you unpack. So you can't just drive towards the shop. So it's all about planning, preparation. So you need to have also a bit of strategic thinking. If I will be there for 5 days, what do I need for food or drinks? And sometimes, of course, there are some small shops, but especially if you go to the countryside and where there's also public holidays and Sundays where shops are closed, you need to prepare. So there's a lot of planning and I would say an adventurous mindset. Things cost more time. Yes, I only had one camping where I had a cold shower. That also happens, of course. But at the other hand, also, which also costs more time, if you do your dishes, you meet someone and you chat. So, and then you have a conference call, you need to pay attention that you don't chat when you chat too long. So it depends, of course, on the camping site. There's a lot of social interaction. I always made a choice to stay at the camping site for different reasons, for my own security, for my own safety, but also to have that social interaction with other people because I'm traveling alone, and also to support the local economy. Because I think it's especially in Poland where there's 40% less of tourists, I found it important to contribute to the local economy.
Nice.
And Wi-Fi, you can buy an extra SIM card, or you can buy, for example, a mobile router. There are solutions for that, but there is Wi-Fi at the camping. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And it also depends on which spot you are choosing on the camping site, because you're at the other side of the camping, of course. The router of the reception won't cover that. But I like it because you're a lot of time outside and you move a lot. So it's on that point, it's a very healthy lifestyle. If it's raining and you need to go to the toilet, you need to go outside. So I like being active and I like being outside, because this is something that I've missed very desperately, being in the pandemic, that I've been too much inside locked. And of course, you're creating new adventures sometimes. And also things break down. Sometimes you're a camper. So you need to have that adventurous mindset and that looking for social interaction and asking for help. And you meet amazing people. I've met the most, even people see me as a source of inspiration. I even met also, for me now, a source of inspiration. One of the amazing that I met was a Canadian couple in Poland, driving around together on one motorbike with a trailer behind. And I think she said, when I said that my father is 75, he's still young. So I didn't dare to ask their age. So at least they were 80 plus, traveling together, one motorbike and a trailer, discovering the country. So then I think this is also what I want to do when I will be old. So there are many people who you meet, who you will never meet if you're in a hotel or at other places. So
and you have the business to do that and to work from anywhere.
Yes, of course. And sometimes I also chose to work also sometimes at different places, and therefore I'm not traveling in the peak season, so in July and August, because then there are the families on the camping site and then you can't do a conference call. Sorry.
I don't know why.
Well, you could do that in the camper perhaps, but it's also a different audience that travels, of course, during the summer season. I'm looking more for either the couples or the adventurous travelers who, of course, look for this outside of the season. So therefore, I am now in the peak season, back at home, back with my father, and go on the road from mid-August again.
Mariska, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, I would say I'm active on all social media channels. You can find me under my own name, Mariska Kesteloo. You can find me on the Word of Mice. I'm happy to connect, happy to talk about B2B influencer marketing, grief or loss, or about my camper journey. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm And again, I'm Dutch, straightforward, open. So no question is too strange for me.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with me today. Congratulations. Good luck. Look forward to seeing you face to face somehow in the next year. Again, thank you for all the inspiration.
You're welcome. It was nice talking with you, and I hope I inspire more people to become a digital nomad, and hope to see you soon on the road or listen to the podcast.
Doei!
Doei!
Mariska, thank you so much for sharing with me your story. It's absolutely amazing what you've been through and the courage you have. I really admire everything you're doing and how you are continuing and inspiring people. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this episode and believe that it can help somebody, please share it in your network. And if you want to connect with me, go on LinkedIn or join my Facebook group, www.eventbusinessformula.com/group. Thank you. Bye-bye.